Even though one of their cars started 15th on the grid, Red Bull still won the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix with a 1-2 finish. That must be something to be happy about, right? Not if your name is Jos Verstappen, Max's dad. The team might have had a party on Sunday night, but the Monday morning meeting to talk about what happened could have been very awkward. Is the conflict between Perez and Verstappen, which has been building up, about to blow? Stick around to the end of the video to find out. Max Verstappen had a problem with his drive shaft during Q2 on Saturday. This put him in 15th on the grid and opened the door for someone else to join Sergio Perez and Fernando Alonso on the podium. Perez and Alonso were strong favorites to finish second and third in the race, respectively. Even for Verstappen, moving from 15th place to 3rd place on a street circuit should have been very hard, but he did it with no trouble. With half of the race left, he passed Alonso and moved into 2nd place. He was only 5.7 seconds behind his teammate Perez. He was only able to do it because the Jeddah track has big DRS zones, and the Red Bull loses all of its drag when the DRS is open. No one knows how they do it, but the Red Bull DRS works way better than any other car's DRS. Verstappen has already said that Red Bull's huge advantage makes it look like the championship will be decided between their two cars. In Jeddah, they seem to be ahead of their cars by about 1 second per lap. With 25 laps left, the two Red Bull teammates were in a straight battle, but Checo was faster than Max by 5.6 seconds. He is fast, but Max would have thought he could have made up the time at that point. But Checo is a pro at street circuits, which he showcased again in Saudi Arabia. Max made up some small gains here and there, but Checo always found a way to return his difference. When they crossed the finish line, there was a gap of 5.355 seconds between them. Max could only beat his teammate by 0.347 seconds over 25 laps. Still, during the last 15 laps of the race, things between the two drivers started to get tense. With that big of a gap between their two cars and a 13-second lead over 3rd place, any other team would have just matched the lap time of the car in 3rd place and made sure everyone got home safely for a big points haul. When one of your drivers is Max Verstappen, though, that is impossible. We were lucky to be so far ahead in Bahrain because otherwise, if we had to push to the end, we probably wouldn't have made the end. So, there is a lot of reliability concerns at the moment that hopefully don't hit us anytime soon, explained Perez before the race. Max had to retire from qualifying in Q2 because of these reliability concerns. They also showed up during the race. Verstappen's drive shaft broke down both during qualifying and during the race. He said he could tell it was wrong. Max wasn't sure though. Over the next few laps, especially when he was going fast, he told his race engineer more than once that something was wrong. At one point, he lost a second because he thought his car was going to break down if he kept going. Checo was upset that his brake pedal was too long and that his brakes were getting worn. Red Bull tried to give him lap times that would keep them ahead of Alonso and get them both home safely, but Max wouldn't listen. The two-time champion had a habit of ignoring his race engineer completely. It happened in Bahrain 2 weeks ago when Max kept pushing even though his team was worried about his car, and it happened again this week. On lap 39, both drivers were given a target lap time of 1.33 seconds. Checo confirmed this. Max, on the other hand, didn't say a word. For multiple laps in a row, the race engineer communicated the required lap time to Max, but the Dutchman did not respond. At the end, Gianpiero pleaded to Max to aim for 33.0. Again, Max didn't respond. He was going about 32.6 seconds a lap, while Checo was going about the same speed and complaining at his race engineer, Hugh Bird, as to why they were pushing without a reason and that it was not a smart thing to do. And he was right, it wasn't. But you can't always make the right choice when Max is on your team. Max is not really a team player because he wants to win. This was clear in Saudi Arabia. As the laps went by, it became clear that Max wasn't going to catch Checo. He wasn't even getting closer. He might not have been able to win 1st place, but he could still get 2nd place points. With only 5 laps left, Max asked his engineer what the fastest lap was, since he hadn't said anything since being asked what the fastest lap was at 1.33 a couple of laps earlier. The team responded that they weren't worried about that now. Max went, "No, but I am." This was followed by a very annoyed Gianpiero telling him it was 32.1. Max would have known that Checo-Perez had the fastest lap. Who else could it be? No one on the track could keep up. So on his last lap, when he knew Checo wouldn't be able to respond with another fast lap of his own, he set his own 1.31.906 second lap. For different reasons, both drivers had great races. Checo drove a great race in terms of strategy. After the safety car, he made a 5-second gap in front of Alonso, and then he just kept that lead to not waste his tires and car. Max had a great race from the back. Going from 15th to 2nd place in half a race is an amazing feat that shows how strong the RB19 really is. But you can really see the cracks starting to show. This is not the same thing as Ricciardo versus Verstappen. During that season, there was nothing at stake. This is more like Hamilton versus Rosberg in 2016 or Hamilton versus Alonso in 2007. During those two seasons, the skills of the teammates were very close to each other. This year, it's a different story. Many think that Checo can beat Verstappen in a straight front row battle. Checo is just one step below the two-time world champion. Last year, they had a huge fight in Brazil where the F1 media swarmed the team like vultures over claims that Checo crashed on purpose in Q3 of the Monaco Grand Prix. It was said that he did it to keep Max from qualifying ahead of him, but nothing was ever proven and probably never will be. That race in Brazil proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that Max would never be a team player. Honestly, not that many of us expected him to be. When he wouldn't give Checo's spot back to him after Checo gave it to Max so that Max could try a move that Sergio couldn't, this burned bridges in the team. It changed the way things were. They used to work together, but now they're rivals. Checo will no longer hold people back so they can help Max. Instead, he will let them through. And why shouldn't he? The whole point of Formula One is to win. You can't do that just by being a good driver. Look at what Carlos Sainz did in 2022 in Silverstone. Ferrari asked him to move back behind Leclerc when there was a late safety car to help the Monegasque win. Carlos said no because he thought it wasn't right. He only won one race all season, and it was because he put himself first. Some drivers could turn it on and off when they needed to. Checo was starting to understand that Max doesn't have an off button. He knew that if he let Max catch up to him, he would lose his chance to win the race. Max wasn't going to just sit there and watch the back of the other Red Bull driver for 5 laps. He made it clear after the race that he wasn't going to follow the team orders and let Checo drive to victory. I recovered to 2nd, which is good, and in general, the whole feeling in the team is happy, but personally, I'm not happy. I'm not here to be 2nd, especially when you're working very hard back at the factory to come here in a good state and make sure everything is spot on. We're allowed to race, so the best men will finish in front, Verstappen said. There was talk after the race that both drivers received different information. Checo said he thought his fastest lap was safe, and Max had been told not to push, but that wasn't true. Both drivers were told the same thing. Checo tried to improve on his fastest lap in the last lap of the race, but he made a mistake early in the lap and had to back out of it. His complaints to the media about it were just a way to try to get everyone on his side. How this battle turns out is going to be one of the best parts of the season. How Max handles the fight could have a big impact on how people see him in the sport as well. However, he won't care because he's just here to win. And as long as he keeps doing that, he will always have a seat at Red Bull. Do you think that the two Red Bulls will go head-to-head for the entire season? Is it possible that we see a crash at some point? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and thank you for watching the video.